we
Mhm.
establish that Jesus Christ have died already, then it just follows naturally that whoever is the second Messiah is, it's definitely not going to be Jesus. It's going to be someone else, and most likely someone from the Muslim
Ummah,
nation.
yeah.
Yeah, from
Yes,
the
yes.
Muslim, right. So
Because we
what
have a
were?
hadith saying that actually. There's a hadith in Sahih Bukhari that says, Isa ibn Maryam will descend and he will be an imam among you, from among you. So
Oh,
imamakum minkum
oh
or
yeah,
something.
oh yeah, you're absolutely right. I remember this one. He
Yes.
did say that he's going to be from amongst you.
Yeah, so
But
imamakum minkum.
the interpretation that I remember that was given is that that's the Mahdi. Uh,
No, actually, it refers to Isa alayhi salam, but the interpretation that's given is saying they say like the most of the Sunni Muslims, they say
mm-mm.
that it means that he's from the Ummah means he's gonna follow Quran and Sunnah. That's what it means to
Oh,
be from among the Ummah.
okay.
That's the interpretation Sunni Muslims do. We do it that he's gonna be literally from among the Muslims, not come. He's not from the same Isa alayhi salam
Oh,
from
okay.
Bani
So you're
Israel.
taking okay. So the Ahmadiyya would take the literal meaning of the phrase rather than try to say, well, it's a metaphorical one.
Yeah, because in the sense because we have other ahadis pointing to the fact that he cannot come, Isa alayhi salam cannot come back in the literal sense, and then we have other proofs I can show you also that.
Mm.
So that's like the basic, and then once you establish Isa alayhi salam has died, and then someone is gonna come from among the Muslims, then the third thing is okay. Let's is it him or not? Is it Ghulam Ahmad alayhi salam,
Yes,
him
right,
or not?
right. So I was
That's
going to
what it
ask you
comes.
that. So what qualities did by the way, do you say Ghulam Mirza or Mirza Ghulam? Just so I know.
Ghulam Ahmad. That's what I
Ghulam
normally say.
Ahmad.
It's easier. Yeah, it's easier to say
So would
also.
it be sufficient if I say Ghulam Ahmad?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yep.
so what was the qualities that Ghulam Ahmad manifested that have made people around him start realize, no, this is not just an ordinary person. He's not like just a smart sheikh or something. No, he is the promised man that we were promised. He is the Mahdi. He's the Messiah. He's the second coming of the Messiah. What were the
Yeah.
qualities of that?
So it's like any prophet that comes, it's very
Mm,
similar to how they go about preaching their message. So at first, like Holy Prophet ﷺ, for example, before his prophethood, everyone respected him, even the kuffar. He was known to be truthful, and this
mm,
is the same exact reason Hazrat Abu Bakr accepted him um, as the
right.
prophet without even asking for proof, because he knew like whatever this man is saying he's not going to say anything wrong. Like truthfulness, I think is one of the first one, obviously.
Right. He has a
So we see,
personality. He was
yep.
known to be an honest person. So even though his message might be at first contrary to what you might think,
Hmm.
but given that we know his personality, that he's honest, given that he is has a good history, it's really hard to basically neglect his message. And so what you're saying
Hmm.
is that Ghulam Ahmad had the same what you might call a background. He was an honest man, known to the people around him.
Hmm. Yeah.
Is that I'm assuming that's what you're saying?
Yep. 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 That's exactly.
And where did his message take place?
So he was born in the British India at that time. It was in 1835. Um, and time
1835.
the British India was basically like a war zone of religions. Um,
Oh.
Christians were converting Muslims in en masse, like a lot, because
Mm,
of their preaching. Muslims and sorry, Hindus were big at that time too,
mm,
in preaching and everything. So it was around that time when he was born, and while he was growing up, there was a lot of hatred against Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They would disrespect and blaspheme a lot, Christians and Hindus.
oh.
Um, and Sikh. Oh yeah, and Sikh too. And Muslims are actually persecuted by Sikh too within the same time when he was born. Um, and basically he started off like he like his life is basically like he was not really interested in working. He was like more seclusive and would go to mosque a lot. He didn't have any specific like teachers in that sense that he studied fiqh from, but he did study like little bit of Arabic and Quran in the early years of his life. But then later, like he started writing books in defense of Islam,
Mm,
against those who were blaspheming Islam and Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, like Christians and Hindus. So I think one of the best like first book that he wrote was called Brahine Ahmadiyya. What does it translate to? Obama? Brahine Ahmadiyya?
Uh, so that's a shortened version of the name Brahini Ahmadiyya, means the truth, the proofs and truthfulness of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Quranic inspiration, I think, divine origin. Here, I'll
Mm.
Yeah, something like
search
that. I
up.
forgot the exact translation.
So growing up, he was defending the message of Islam as a Sunni Muslim, I would
Yeah, yeah,
presume.
yeah. He was like Hanafi at that time.
Mm,
Yeah, and he wrote that book, and he challenged like all the religions, like Christians and Hindus, saying that refute this book by proving that he wrote that book in defense of Islam, saying that Islam is the truest religion and it has all the signs, and if any religion can stand up to its mark, then write a book in refutation for this.
All right.
So basically, that
So like,
yeah,
yeah, so like the full name is Al Brahini Al Ahmadiyya Al Haqiqat Al Kitabullah Al Quran wa Nabi Nabuwat Al Muhammadiyya. So like Ahmadiyya
oh.
argument in support of the Book of Allah, the Quran, and the Prophet of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
And at the time, he wasn't necessarily making an argument about his message
no,
yet. He was
he
just
just
defending the
No,
religion
no.
at large.
yep,
So I'm assuming it took kind of a special revelation to make him realize that he was sent with a unique message.
yep, obviously, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Because I remember
So
there was this hadith that says that about the Mahdi, that God will basically transform him within one night. Is this something that?
yes, 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 that's
Right.
exactly what happened. Obama, you
Oh,
want to say that?
oh, okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
But
wait,
before
I
that,
don't know
actually,
how to.
before that, okay, before that, like that happened, this time, like when he wrote this book, he was just like a random, person writing book, and he was publishing these books, and he got pretty famous among India and like the whole like subcontinent, regarding that book. All these scholars, praised him at that time,
Mm,
and then he was like basically like became a big shot basically pretty soon across
mm,
India, and slowly like over time, like people who were close to him, like the scholars nearby, they were asking him to claim to be a mujaddid of the century, because mujaddids would come at every century, so they
oh
were
yeah, yeah,
asking
I'm
him,
familiar with
if
that. Right.
yeah, so he they were asking him, claim to be one, but then soon he got a revelation. I don't know if he claimed or exactly if I can't say that, so I'm not gonna say. But if he claimed to be mujaddid later, and then everyone was okay, and then slowly like he got a revelation saying that um, he's the Mahdi and the Messiah, and that Isa alayhi salam has passed away. This was in 1891 when he got this revelation, and he wrote this book Izala Oham, where he mentions this revelation and all the proofs, saying that God has revealed to me that Isa alayhi salam has passed away, and these are the verses and these are the proofs from within Quran and Sunnah, and um, Isa alayhi salam won't come back, and he's the one.
Well, I guess that's when things start to go sideways, right?
Yep, flipped
From being the most popular,
to the most hated.
most hated. And so I'm assuming, did he have like immediately like followers with him, and like did people were there like known, let's say, companions of his, like with the case of the Prophet, we had Abu Bakr and
Yes.
Umar who supported
So,
him early on.
hmm
Mm,
so after the first caliph, actually, his name was Mirza. Not Mirza. Sorry, Maulvi Hakim Nuruddin. He was from a place called Bheda. It's in India somewhere. Like he was a big scholar at that time of
He
Islam.
was a Wahhabi
Yeah,
scholar,
Ahle Hadith, right?
Ahl
Ahle Hadith.
Hadith.
Yeah, like Ahle Hadith are basically like the Salafi version of within like the subcontinent. So he was one of the like a big scholar of that time, and he was also like a hakim, like a doctor, traditional doctor.
mm.
He heard of his message, and he accepted Islam, like his message, and I think he was like, you can say basically like he was like his the closest companion at that time.
Well,
And there was also another scholar from Afghanistan, Kabul. who heard he was going to Mecca at that time for Hajj. Then he heard like this guy has claimed to be Messiah. So he instead of going to Hajj, he goes to like meet him. He meets him and accepts his message. And then he goes back to his country. He was like the court, like the the biggest scholarly position in within the court of the king. So he was that. And when he goes
Oh,
back,
okay.
he tells people about that he has accepted this man. The whole country basically, stones him to death at that time. So, um,
Goodness.
yeah. So and his family also. So this happened
He,
at that time. So
wow.
he had like a few companions, a lot of
So what was the main argument? So he was using basically argumentation and religious scripture to prove his case, or was it also accompanied with some unique miraculous events?
Yeah, he did miracles, obviously. I think if I personally, I think like the main message that we read from his books, he wrote around like 80 plus books, is like how to establish this connection with Allah Ta'ala.
Mm,
I think that's one of the main points on understanding that, Islam is like a living religion. It's not a religion, that we read in Quran or the books that, miracles
mm,
happened in the past.
mm,
Prophets used to pray and then, these
mm,
miracles happen but these can happen today also. We can do it. So we have to, establish the same connection with Allah Ta'ala that all these companions had, all these noble people of the past had that we read in the Quran. And I think that's the main, basically, like how to establish connection with Allah Ta'ala. That's one of the main message.
mm,
Other than that, he obviously had to prove that he's the Masih, and of the time. So that's the other
mm.
proof that he had to give anyways.
Are there accounts of, I guess, miracles of his, like within the
Yes.
Ahmadiyya? Or
Hmm.
what would be one of the most popular ones?
I think it would depend by
The
every person.
solar and lunar eclipse probably is the best one to go about it.
Oh, okay. So is this like well known among all the Ahmadiyya?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I guess.
I
And
think that's one of the most popular. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
when did the eclipse take place? Like, what did it take place like in a specific moment in his life that is very, which makes it
Yes.
the
So
like
it's actually a prophecy. So
oh, he made
by
a prophecy that it
no,
will
no, no.
happen.
Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made a prophecy.
So
Oh,
there is this hadith in that says that in the time of the Mahdi, a sign will take place, and this sign is also like hinted towards as per our understanding in the Quran, also in the surah. I think Takwir, or I
Takwir,
forgot. Yeah, Surah
Takwir,
Takwir.
yeah.
Yeah, and this hadith goes like, at the time of the Mahdi, this sign will
mm,
appear, which is in a I think I forgot. There's a lunar and solar eclipse happening within the month of Ramadan on these specific dates. And Obama, do you know the specific dates? Like,
Yeah, so it says, all right, so first of all, the lunar and solar eclipse, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that this sign has not been shown to anyone since the creation of Adam. The Imam Mahdi will come, and a solar and lunar eclipse will take place on the first nights of Ramadan and in the middle nights of Ramadan. Yeah, and then you can look up the dates and
and
see.
that would be an indication of the coming of this of the second Messiah
Mhm. Of the Mahdi.
or the
yeah,
Mahdi. Yeah, yeah.
which is the Masih, which is basically the
Yeah,
Masih from our point of view.
Right.
and
So,
so
did he like die as a like was he? I guess did he die a natural death or?
Yep. So he died in 1908, the day before, like he wrote his last book, which was Message of Peace. So
Mm,
he died, yeah, with his family. Like, he was, I think, 75 years old as per the
mm,
lunar calendar.
on his bed.
yeah.
Yep.
So, and what's the view of the Ahmadiyya of, let's say, the Sunni Muslims who reject the message of, like, how how would they understand these other Muslims? Do they is the traditional view of Ahmadiyya that these Muslims, if they heard the message, let's say, and they still rejected it, then they wouldn't be Muslims, for example, or like what would be the traditional view within
I think
Ahmadiyya of
it's very similar to, like, how you would believe, like, suppose, like, from the Sunni understanding, I think if Isa alayhi salam comes down from heavens and then he's preaching, what would you call the Muslims who deny him? You know,
I
uh,
think yeah, these Muslims would be considered as leaving the religion at that point. They would be outside of the Ummah because they have rejected a clear sign that the Prophet ﷺ have prophesied that it will happen. And so if you just reject it after
mhm.
it was clearly
But it's
seen.
also like a bit uh, detailed in that sense, right? Because you just can't say that they are non-Muslims in general, like everyone is, because it also depends upon the understanding of each person. Like if a person is stupid and he doesn't want to research and find out,
Mm,
then we can't just say that, okay, they are just
mm,
completely
mm,
non-Muslims. Like they're obviously doing kufr in denying like this person,
mm, mm.
um, but like you do kufr when you miss a prayer also. So it's a
Right.
bit complicated in that sense.
Yeah, we
But
can
like
acknowledge that the majority of people are misled and they're misinformed by uh, for a lot of reasons. But
yeah, mhm.
assuming that the best case was provided for
So
someone who
assuming like
is
these scholars, for example, yeah. So look
right,
at
right.
some scholar who is just
Yeah,
hating
so
on Ahmadis, and
yeah, and
scholars are
assuming
the one. Yeah,
this, sorry to cut you off, and assuming that these scholars know better than to reject Ahmadiyya, let's say, assuming that the best case for Ahmadiyya was laid down to them, and they still refuse it out of hatred, out of love for power, while let's say still maintaining their, let's say, Muslim position, like they still say that there's no God and Muhammad is his messenger, but
yeah.
they reject the message of Ahmadiyya, even though it was presented in the best possible case. I'm assuming that they would be classified as non-Muslims at that point because they're
So
being
like
misleading.
I could give you like one real life example that happened in the lifetime of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. So there was actually some companion or some person around him who even testified to the truthfulness of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad and called him, like, fully accepted him, and even said
Mm,
that his prophecies came true. So he in his heart recognized and testified to the signs, right?
mm.
But then later on he started rejecting him, even though he testified in favor of him and said this is 100% true. That person would be considered a kafir. So that's like a real life
Oh,
example of
he
what you could
basically
say.
conceded to Ghulam Ahmad that his message was true. Well, you said
So,
Ghulam Ahmad or the Prophet Muhammad? Wait,
Ghulam Ahmad. And
Ghulam Ahmad. Oh.
not only that, but he said that the prophecies that happened to him and his family were true, and this proves Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. But then later on, he detracted from that message and rejected him. So then he will be considered a kafir.
Mm. You guys are
But normally,
familiar with
like I,
the. Go
mhm.
ahead, go ahead.
I mean, normally, like I just don't feel like going into these type of discussions, as like at the end, like we as laymen can't just call people kafir or not. I think it's
Oh
just
yeah, I
yeah,
understand the sensitivity. Like, you could probably ask me the same question. I mean, just to not seem that I'm trying to, put a label on you. I mean, I understand that it's also vice versa. Like to be fair, I understand that Ahmadiyya would be probably considered to the, let's say, to the majority of Sunni, I guess, scholars to be I can't even pronounce it, heretical
yeah.
movement. And
Hmm.
so,
I mean, those who call us kafir, they're kafir for sure, because of the hadith of Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Other than that, like I just don't. I don't just. This is like a
right,
Wait,
complicated topic. Yeah.
and there
like
is no
we're not,
necessarily it's not necessarily an insult. Like if someone is trying, for example, if a Christian came to me and say, well, am I a Muslim or am I kafir? And I tell him, no, you're a kafir. I'm not necessarily trying to offend him. I'm just trying to state, from my position, a factual statement. Like,
Hmm.
he can be even my
Hmm.
friend. He could be someone that I would die for because he's a friend of mine. But I'm not gonna basically compromise a factual statement just to make him feel better. So there's not necessarily anything bad about saying, well, from my religious perspective, you're not, let's say, a believer, you're a non believer. But it's just a factual statement. So that's why I was
Yeah, but
asking the
like,
question. So
I
yeah.
guess that factual statement should be in line with Quran, Sunnah, and Hadith, right? So then, from like that perspective, that's what we take.
Mm.
Not everyone who says Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's false or just does it out of spite or ignorance is a kafir, or but he's committing an act of kufr, right? So he's not
Oh yeah.
he's not expelled from the Millati Islam. He's not expelled from the community of Islam,
I'm guessing it's
but
similar to
he
someone who's not necessarily praying. And you could say, well, he's not praying because he's a kafir, but also you could say, well, he is not necessarily a kafir, but he is certainly doing something that would lead to kufr if he
so
were
he's
to
like
be.
committing an act of kufr, you could say.
Right, right. I remember listening to a scholar who said kufr is two types. There is like what you might call kufr within the heart, and that's like the ultimate
I think it
kufr. And
was
then you have
Ibn Kathir. He said that.
oh, okay, you're familiar with it. Yeah, good. And so, and the other one is like the what you might call the I don't know, but basically
Bigger,
kufr
big,
by action, like
yeah.
I think
Hmm.
Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah, he also said
Yeah,
something similar.
that's him. Ibn Taymiyyah, not Ibn
mm,
Kathir. Sorry about that.
mm.
I
So
think he said something like, let me open it.
Yeah.
Imam Raghib Ibn Taymiyyah, he says in the commentary of Fusuq, the scholars say that it refers to sin. And just as zulm is of two kinds and fisk is of two kinds, kufr is also of two kinds. One form ejects a person from the millah, and the other form it does not eject person from the millah. This is in his book Kitabul Iman or something.
oh,
Mhm.
right. It's also along the same lines of this the phrase that I heard. And you guys familiar with the hadith that says basically that the Ummah, Islamic Ummah, basically fractures to so many sects, but whoever says with my sects, the Prophet says, will be safe. I
Mhm.
might not be necessarily, but basically the hadith says that the Islam will fracture into many different sects, but there will be only one that is on the right path. Is this commonly known hadith in
Yep.
Mhm.
Ahmadiyya?
73 sects, and one of them is
Oh,
Jannatis,
good.
and the other one
Yeah,
is Jahannamis.
right. So I'm more confident that we use the same sources. Like Ahmadiyya is actually no different than the Sunni Muslims in the sense that they all use the same sources.
Mhm.
Just a
Mhm.
different understanding of the religious scriptures.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mr. Neon says 72 verses 1. Yes, we know this hadith. We use Sahih Sitta too. Oh yeah, you mean like Ibn Majah and who else? The Tirmidhi, Bukhari, and
Nasai.
Muslim, and Nasai. Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is actually new to me. I didn't know that. I expected you guys to say like we have a different hadith. It's called I don't know, and you give me some random word, and I'm like, holy damn, what is that? But I'm surprised to
Hmm.
see that there is a lot of commonality. Actually, there's so much in common. It's hard to distinguish an Ahmadiyya from any ordinary Sunni. The only difference seems to be only who's the identity
Accepting.
of the Mahdi. That's all.
Mhm.
Do you guys get a lot of visitors like this, or am I a rare incident?
No, there's a lot of people who come. Mostly come just to troll and stuff, and then they leave. But
Oh, and miss
actually,
this
like,
opportunity to learn something? Wow.
yeah, you've been, I think, one of the nicest one. But I think yesterday there was another guy also here. He's very nice. He asked if, I think tomorrow or something, Neonaut and another guy was talking to him.
So is this
So
like your first time meeting Ahmadis, or?
yeah, that's what I'm quite.
Mm.
I was quite excited, and because I've never actually spoke to any Ahmadiyya before, and what I know of it was only bits and pieces from what I heard. Uh, and mostly it was critical whenever I heard about it. It was only just bits and pieces, and what mostly bias because it was critical of Ahmadiyya. So I never heard, let's say, an argument for Ahmadiyya laid to me. And so this would be the first time. Yeah.
Nice.
And so I like to hear, for example, that we use the same sources, the same books as safe hadith, and
The
for
same
example, the
Quran.
same Quran. Yeah, like I also expected something like we have a new Quran, and I was prepared for that. But
Mm,
yeah, but sorry for coming, I guess, with a prejudgment.
no, it's okay.
What are some of the criticisms that you've heard about us?
Well, actually, it's not much. That it's a heretical movement, and they're making claims that are not compatible with Islam. And so, and I also understood that there is a new founder that is claiming something unique about him. And I think I thought, and from what I understood, that he is the Mahdi. But then, and the response was, but we know that the Mahdi should be, for example, I don't know, in Mecca or Medina or something like that. That he should be coming to Mecca and start a revolution in Mecca. But the founder of Ahmadiyya didn't do that, and so he's not the promised one. Yeah, that's probably as far as I heard. But yeah, what do you guys make of that claim that Al Mahdi should be going to Mecca and be, welcomed by the people in Mecca who will, believe in him and say, "We will follow you because we know that you are the Mahdi."
Is it a hadith? Because I've never heard it.
Yeah, I think it is a hadith. But let me just read what Neon, because he just mentioned me here. You can ask about the death of Israel if you want to hear about it.
I think what you're mentioning is like stuff like Mahdi will like
Yeah,
be be
because my
dismissed with.
understanding, he will get, about the hadith that says the Mahdi will be transformed in one night. That was
Yeah,
supposed to happen like in Medina, and then he would travel from Medina to Mecca, and when he goes to Mecca near the Kaaba, he will declare that he is the Mahdi, and then everyone
yeah,
around the Kaaba will, follow him, and then the local government in that time, maybe I don't know if it's the government of this time or a new government in the future, will send armies to stop him, and then the sign the sign that will tell us that he's the Mahdi is that the army who's going to stop him will be basically destroyed in his way to Mecca. And when that happens, everyone is gonna know for certain that that's the Mahdi, or at least
It
that's the
happened though
narrative.
in 1979.
Okay,
This
okay.
this guy called Muhammad Abdullah al-Qahtani or something. He went there and did this, and he sieged, and the government sent army to kill him. If you search like Grand Mosque seizure, Caesar. Oh man, I can't say this word. Seizure.
he's
Um, it's gonna be there.
no.
Okay,
So you're
names.
from Saudi Arabia. Do you know
Go
there
ahead.
was this? You're from Saudi Arabia. Do you know whenever Mecca was like taken over?
Oh yeah, by Juhayman. Yeah. Yeah, there was this guy
Who?
with his group who's I think his name is Juhayman, who was the leader of that group at the time. And they basically took over the Kaaba, and the government forces weren't able to penetrate it. So I think the story goes that they have used foreign forces, I think probably French forces, to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone just
So
wrote it here. Asher, yeah,
what? So like, wouldn't he qualify as a Mahdi?
But the armies that went to stop him, they weren't destroyed, so he wouldn't
I
be the
mean,
one.
like, so a lot. So what our point is here is that a lot of these Mahdi hadiths, if you just
Mm,
look at them at isnad perspective or from the matan perspective,
mm.
they're very weak, and they're actually, we say that they're fabricated by these
Yeah,
people in the
I'm
past,
seeing.
Umayyads and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
there's
I'm
many
seeing Neon here typing.
contradicting one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like I never knew that they are not from, for example, Bukhari and Muslim. Here, Neon is saying
yeah,
Mahdi hadith aren't in Sahih Muslim and Bukhari, and so
yeah.
basically
They
he's hinting
aren't.
that they're not very reliable.
Yeah, they aren't.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably look that one up because I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm gonna need to check from what are the sources and the strength of the sanad of these hadiths.
Mhm.
overall viewpoint is like of even of like many Sunni scholars is the same for Mahdi, that everyone acknowledges that they're weak, but most people don't deny it because of because they say that it's mutawatir, that it's so many that it's like unbearable to deny. It's very bad to deny the concept of Mahdi, and I think that's the same viewpoint as like the Ahmadi we have, is that the concept of Mahdi is there, but it's not in the sense that he's a different person, but it's the title of the Masih, and we have ahadith saying that the Isa al Islam, when he descends, he will be a just ruler, and the Al Mahdi and the Imam Mahdi. I don't know if Neo can or someone can post those in here in VC stuff.
Let me just read what Super Meta wrote, because he just wrote a short French special forces provided a special tear gas which prevents aggressiveness and slows down breathing. Was executed by Saudi authorities. Yeah, heard that. Yeah, it's
And
quite kind of, I guess, awkward that they had to use foreign forces to kind of take him down, especially given that they had basically to bring them to Mecca, where supposedly all the Muslims should be allowed there.
I mean, Mecca at the time of Holy Prophet Sallam, even non-Muslims came in Mecca and Medina, so I think it's fine, especially to save Kaaba, the Masjid al-Haram. So I think you can do anything.
I think it's also because whenever we go to Mecca, there is always this sign that tells non-Muslims to go to take a side path away from Mecca, and so in everybody's mind, only Muslims are allowed in there. But I can't remember a specific hadith that says don't allow, let's say, the non-Muslims to come in. I can't think of one.
Not sure about that, because I think if they don't allow non-Muslims to come, I think it's good, because so many Muslims who want to go, they can't go. And I think if you allow non-Muslims to come, then it's like
It's
taking
gonna
more
turn into
capacity.
like it's they're probably just gonna treat it as like a tourist place more than anything, and that's what we don't
Yeah.
have.
And
But
did anyone of you like visit Mecca? Did you ever get the opportunity
mm,
to travel?
no,
Not yet. Inshallah, my
Mm.
mom is planning next year to do Umrah. Let's see.
Oh, so you're planning to go along?
Yeah, I think so. I have to.
Mm.
Or even if I don't, but I'll have to like arrange.
Like, wouldn't be exciting, especially if you've never been there? It's gonna be the like first time to be there. I mean, supposedly it's gonna be like exciting thing to do, right?
Obviously, super lucky
Uh,
people who go there.
oh, do you guys have like is there like a place for the Ghulam Ahmad's
Neonot,
grave?
have you been there? Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah, there
yeah.
is one. Neonot has been there. What? Mashallah.
bro,
Oh, new
I
not. Okay,
wanna
okay.
go.
I did. Alhamdulillah, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ahmadis, they don't ask who is coming, right? Unless you're going from Pakistan, then on your passport that you have Ahmadi written or Qadiani. So they would know, so you can't go. But from other countries, like no one knows.
Oh wait. So basically, there is Ahmadis cannot travel to Mecca.
To Yeah, because if they find out that you're an Ahmadi, it's not.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's.
Well,
So
well, what about Shia then? I mean, Shia go to Mecca, I think.
yeah, I think it's
yeah, they
fine for them,
do.
but for us, no. In from Pakistan, like in our passports, we have this religion field, and we have a different religion than Islam, because as per Pakistan, we're non-Muslim. So when we have that
Mm,
Ahmadi written on it or Qadiani, as they write it,
yeah.
we can't get entry.
But what? But to Pakistan, if you're a Shia, then you're a Muslim.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Shia is Muslim, but just Ahmadis are non-Muslims
Well,
according to the
what
constitution.
it seems to be that numbers are the determining factor of who Muslim is or who's not. So if Ahmadiyya got enough, converts, and they're like just as large as Shias and Sunnah, then hey, I guess they're Muslims now.
No, not numbers. It's like wherever they
um,
have an ijma.
actually, so I don't think it's about numbers because Ahmadis can't hold government positions, in Pakistan, is that true, right? Or something like that?
Pakistan, what is true?
Ahmadis can't hold government positions.
No, like what
So
I'm saying is that if someone, let's say from Iran, decided to go to Mecca to make Hajj, let's say, I do
yeah,
think that the Saudi government would prevent them from doing so. They would allow them. But
yeah,
someone coming from, let's say, from Ahmadiyya and who's just trying to have Hajj, they would not be allowed to do so. So what
Nope.
makes, let's say, the Shia who's coming from Iran a Muslim, but the Ahmadiyya who's coming from Pakistan or from India not a Muslim? I mean, the only differences that I see is only the numbers, because there's a lot of Shias around the world that it's really too difficult to say all of you are not allowed, and they're only so
No,
how
I
it's
many
guess
the
Ahmed,
it's
I
the
guess you would have
72
to
versus
ask.
one ijma. It's the 72 versus one ijma. Like in Pak, they have an ijma that all the Ahmadis are kafir, but not all scholars agree on the same fact that Shias are. Even Shias and Sunnis both agree on this fact. So that's the reason I think we're
the
special.
class the classical enemies have agreed on something.
Yeah. So we're uniting the Ummah basically. That's good.
Yeah.
Salafis, Sunnis, and
Shia
Shias.
Sufis.
Even Sufis are against you guys.
Yeah,
Everyone's against.
How many Ahmadis are there, do you think?
Around 10 million or
Oh, okay,
something
it's
that's
hard to
worldwide.
tell.
I mean,
But it's pretty
if
hard,
it's in,
yeah. Yes.
I mean, by the time it's in the millions, that's already an impressive number.
Hmm, I
And most
guess.
of them, I'm assuming most of them are located in India.
Hmm,
Not India a lot. I think right now it might be Africa mostly because they were
Really?
mostly in Pakistan before. But because of persecution, many have fled, and it's getting very less and less there because it's hard to track over there also because everything that happens over there, our activities are like incognito. So like you have to hide, and people are also
Oh.
scared of telling.
So
It's
where are
hard
you
to.
guys from? Are you guys like, for example, where are you from, Zivius?
I'm living in California right now, but I'm from Pakistan.
Nice, Kelly. Obama?
Yep.
gee, I've never been to Pakistan. My parents are Pakistani, but I'm living in the US.
Nice. Both of you in the US. Wow.
Yeah.
What about you, Neonat?
You notice from Mars.
Mars?
He doesn't share.
Base.
Space. Oh, you moved. Oh, you went to
He's
Neptune last week. I think most people here are. I'm not sure. I think
Maybe
Asher
US,
is from US too.
US and
Dr.
Canada.
Handsome is very
UK.
handsome.
Yeah. There's a lot of Canadians, a lot of Europeans here.
Oh, so it would seem that the Ahmadiyya are like really not focused on one geographical location, but rather
Yeah,
distributed.
yeah, we're found in we're found in over 200 plus countries. So yeah.
Mm-mm. Is there like a place? Do you guys know where, like, for the Ghulam Ahmad? Is there a grave for him, like that people know what it is and can visit?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
in Qadian city in India. It's a very small town where he was born.
Bahesh
Okay.
Emiri Maqbara.
Mm.
If
And
you want
it
to
is
see it, you can see it. Let me share a video actually.
yeah, yeah, sure. I would appreciate that. Is it commonly a visited place? Like, is there like people visiting almost every day, or like is it a weekly thing or a monthly thing?
I think it's open, like
Mm,
anyone can go and pray on the grave. It's like in a graveyard. It's like open,
Would
basically.
it be considered like a holy land?
what do
Not
you mean,
holy in
like the
that sense
grave?
as
No.
not holy in the sense that it's Mecca and Medina,
Mm.
but holy in the sense that not holy in the sense like it's a special place because he was born there. So people go and visit the place how it was and
Oh,
just like in that sense, yeah. And it was
can
it was our
people like
first
visit?
headquarters.
Can people visit to be blessed, for example?
To be blessed, no, we don't
Mm,
believe in those things. It's just like maybe if you wanna, just see the things around, maybe it gets some
Oh,
spiritual charging. Like, when you go visit these
oh,
places, like where people like these were born, maybe that, but we don't believe in the stuff like, where you go to graveyards and pray
oh,
to the dead
oh,
or
okay.
something.
Yeah,
We don't do
basically,
istighatha.
hardcore Sunnis, yeah.
Yeah, we don't pray
Right,
to,
right.
no istighatha. And it's, let me share the video actually.
I actually kind of like it how it's open, because you know how it's like
Mm.
the other Muslims build like tombs over it and like do all these gold decorations. It's
Right,
very
So
yeah.
nice
this
how it's
video,
just simple.
you don't
Yeah,
need to
actually,
listen to it, but like if you click on it, the beginning, it shows the city and the graveyard in the very beginning, like few seconds.
yeah, I'm seeing right now the mosque.
Yeah, and then that's the city. Let me. Oh, and then at around like 1 minute 20 second mark or 30 second, that's the graveyard. 1 minute 20 seconds.
1 minute 20. Let me just see. Okay.
Yeah, just like 10 seconds of that.
Yeah, it's like I think I remember when I saw the Sikh, because I believe in the Sikh religion, they probably have the place decorated, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I
Um,
understand that Sikhism is not an Islamic sect; it's like an entirely different religion. But they seem to have taken inspiration from Islam in lots of ways.
I
They've done
mean,
from both like Hinduism and Islam.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
But
mean, but like
we
Baba,
that yeah,
their
I think
founder,
you're about to say.
yeah,
Go ahead.
like their founder of Sikhism, he was more Muslim in a sense than he was Hindu. Like he went to Hajj, he said La ilaha illallah, and then later on they became more Hindu.
Mm. And they seem to also believe in a monotheistic God, but it's much more how like, it's almost
Hindu,
like a yeah, it's their
Sufi-ish.
God. It's like yeah, yeah, it's like, almost like a Sufi Hindu version of God. Like his like he is an everything kind of thing. He's not separated from the world,
Wahdat
but rather.
al-wujud.
Oh yeah, that was actually. Do you speak Arabic, by the way?
No, no.
Oh, 'cause, I heard you
I'm
speak a few
trying to
Arabic words.
learn. I'm
Yeah, that
trying
was
to
good.
learn.
That was a good pronunciation. Yeah, basically, the unity of existence. The God is united with it, with all of reality, kind of thing. It doesn't seem to be Islamic.
Yeah, we don't believe in that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, given all of the Sunni restrictions you guys have, you're probably just as strict as we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty strict on the shirk part. Yeah.
Shirk Akbar, Shirk Asghar, the big one and the small one.
Yeah.
And there's Riya, which is like shirk of the heart or something like that. Like you're doing good deeds for other people just to see you, and you're just
Mm-hmm.
flexing on them.
Yeah, and then there's like hidden shirk, like
Mm.
missing namaz because you're playing a game.
Or thinking I got 100% because of me
Yeah,
without the help of God.
or lying because like you're trusting in words rather than Allah to save you.
Where are you? I'm from Saudi Arabia, super meta.
Are you living there right now?
Yeah, I'm actually from Jeddah, which is like which is like half an hour away from Mecca.
Yeah, my friend lives there.
Right.
He's Pakistani though.
Yeah, we have a lot of, especially because Jeddah is a coastal city, and so it's kind of very active. You have people from all different backgrounds, Arabian and Asian, and yeah, Muslims from from every background you will find here in Jeddah, especially because also those who want to go to Hajj or Umrah, many of them will stop in Jeddah first for a few days maybe, and then they will go to Mecca.
And like our community, like we have a Khalifa also. I don't know if you might be
Oh,
surprised because of it. So, it's the view of all the Sunnis that when the Imam Mahdi or Isa alayhis salam comes, uh,
mm.
the Imam Mahdi, sorry, Isa alayhis salam specifically, he'll establish, Khilafat will establish after his death. Because there's a hadith in Musnad Ahmad bin Hanbal that
Yeah.
Khilafat will be established.
خلاف من حاجة من نبوة.
Yeah, Khilafat la min ajin nabuwa. Um,
Oh, yeah. And so, what do the Ahmadis believe in regard to that? How is that going to happen within the Ahmadis' belief system? So,
I
So it
mean,
already happened. So when he passed away in 1908,
mm,
just like uh, the elections happened at the time of
mm.
Holy after his death of Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Oh,
There was like a shura, people gathered together and elected the next Khalifa. Similar thing happened, and it has been happening since then. So right now we have the fifth Khalifa, Khalifat
nice.
al-Masih, um, and then yeah, and
Uh,
he lives in yeah.
where does he live right now?
He lives in near London. It's like an area. Forgot the name of the area, but it's called
Mm.
Islamabad.
Woodford.
We have made we have named it like our own
So
kind of
he's
area.
like the Ahmadiyya Pope, like.
Kind of like the Khalifa of the time. Yeah.
And so
Uh,
basically, if okay, how much authority does the Ahmadiyyan Khalifa has? For example, if he were to command jihad right now, would he be able to gather, let's say, an army?
Yeah.
so like he did that actually. So in the second Khalifa of
Mm,
when Pakistan was formed, created in 1947, and next year there was a war. It's called the Kashmir War. So
mm,
when Pakistan was created, the place that's where he was born, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, it's in India now. So when they partitioned the country, that place went into India. So they moved, all the Ahmadis moved to Pakistan because it was a Muslim country. So moved there, and next year there was a war in Kashmir because Kashmir, India sent army there to forcefully capture the area. So Pakistan also sent an army. So in that, the second Khalifa commanded all the Ahmadis. He formed like a militia, not a militia actually, sorry, like a infantry command group and gave it to the Pakistan army. It was like fully Ahmadi. Yeah, it's called Furqan Force. You can if you Google it on the wiki, you can read it. So he did that for his country,
interesting.
for Pakistan, basically.
Wow.
But otherwise, like the jihad that you might be thinking about, normally the jihad is needed, when someone's attacking you, like you
Right.
are a country, and someone's trying to either wipe off Islam, just like at the time of Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or the
Mm.
Khulafas. So when that happens, you need like state authority. He doesn't have state authority, because Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, like he never had state authority, just like so his Khulafas don't have it either as of now. Maybe, but in the future,
So,
like if there is an Ahmadi country,
are there
he
any
might have.
prophecies that Ghulam Ahmad that have made about the future before he died?
Yeah, there are many like World War One. I think someone quoted a few days ago on the channel. Uh,
Oh,
was a prophecy. There have been a few like the destruction of what do you call Russian Empire at that time. Uh,
is
The
there a
Tsar.
prophecy in regard to the Judgment Day, for example, or when it's gonna happen?
Well, nobody knows when it's gonna happen, so
Because if he's
yeah,
the second, if he's the Messiah and he's the Mahdi, and basically we're at the end times now.
I mean
we have
the
we've been
end
in the end
the
time since Muhammad Sallam.
Right, but now if the Mahdi just came, he's like if the I don't know. You probably guys also familiar with the term the alamat al-sa'a al-kubra and al-sughra, meaning
Yes,
the big, the major signs and the
major
minor
signs of the manner.
signs.
Yes,
And so the coming of the Mahdi would be like one of the major signs. So
Mhm.
I think it's minor.
really, you think
I
so?
think so. It's not in the major. Yeah,
Yeah,
Because at
yeah,
least
it's a
I
from
have
minor.
the hadith. I have the hadith. Let me open it.
because I've always thought that the coming of the Mahdi would be of the major ones.
Yeah, let me
Yeah,
open the hadith for you.
I mean like, you know the hadith where Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that my death and the day of judge or the hour is like this close, and then he put up his two fingers, the middle and the pointer finger together. Do you know that
Right, right.
hadith?
Yeah,
So
I know
like,
the hadith, yeah.
and it's been years since he's passed away, yet Judgment Day isn't here yet. So it will be a sign, but it doesn't mean that it happens like right after he dies, right?
Yeah, I get, yeah, that makes sense.
But it's the coming of the Messiah is a major sign. So, which is basically the same thing. It's a major sign.
Okay, what do you guys believe also about the Antichrist?
The Dajjal.
Yeah.
Do you think
So,
it's is it a real thing or is it also another fabrication?
No, it's
so
real.
it's real, but we don't believe in Dajjal to be like like a monster kind of person with one eye and one and kafir written on his face, literally on his forehead, and he can fly through the air like very fast, and all these. There's many prophecies about him. We don't believe like it's one man, but we do believe Dajjal is real, and from our perspective, it's the Dajjal basically is the manifestation of Satan at the time of the Messiah.
So basically, it's open for interpretation within Ahmadiyyas.
It's not open, it's like for sure we know what it is. But basically, it's the manifestation of Satan at the time of Messiah.
So
And
it could
Muhammad
be
Sallallahu
considered. So can we,
uh
for example, consider the internet, for example, the Antichrist because of all the temptations and desires, and so it could be considered
It'd
for
be
that
kind
maybe.
of like one of the tools
of
of
Oh,
the
Dajjal.
Dajjal.
Yeah.
I mean, so like one of the interpretations we gave for is a Dajjal would be Christianity and the Western nations. A Dajjal,
okay.
he would go around saying, "I am God, worship me," which people of the religion claims a person is God, worship them, right?
Hmm. So
It's
So
maybe
Jesus'
basically,
name.
it's like one of the manifestation of Satan is Dajjal, and which is what Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned and told us already. In the Hadith, he says, recite Surah Takwir, or sorry, Surah Kahf, the first 10 and the last 10 verses of the Surah Kahf to be saved from the Dajjal, right?
Right.
From the fitna of Dajjal. And if we read those verses, we see that the fifth verse or fourth verse of Surah Kahf, it talks about Trinitarian Christians who believe that God has a son. Um, and there are other hadiths about Isa alayhi salam saying that when he descends, he's gonna break cross and kill pigs. It's very closely linked to it. Why would he break cross? He will break cross because Dajjal is one manifestation of
Wait.
Dajjal is the other Trinitarian
You,
Christians as
so what you believe that
Surah Kahf.
Jesus is gonna come back?
Like, I mean, whenever I mention the Isa alayhi salam, it means the second coming, which is the Mirza Ghulam Ahmad alayhi salam.
What Ghulam Ahmad is gonna come back again?
No, no, no.
No.
When I talk about those hadiths about descending of Ibn Maryam or Isa alayhi salam, I'm just referring to Mirza Ghulam Ahmad
Yeah,
because he
but
has
did he
already come
break?
back.
But did he
Yes,
break the
yes,
cross?
yes. All these prophecies that you see Isa alayhi
Hmm.
salam, you believe that Isa alayhi salam will do when he comes back. We
Oh
believe
yeah,
that
that's
he's done it, obviously, because
yeah.
otherwise,
This
yeah,
is why there's a little bit of miscommunication because whenever I speak of these, signs of the Mahdi or excuse me, or the second coming of the Messiah, I always
Mhm.
think of them in terms of Jesus when he comes back. But
yeah.
yeah,
Since
and
we believe he has,
I,
yeah, since we believe that's already happened, so those things would already have happened too.
and we could even probably interpret the breaking of the cross in the actions of Ghulam Ahmad when he was fighting for the message of Islam, even prior to him announcing himself to be the Mahdi, right?
Yes,
Because
he
he
wrote.
was he.
Yep, yeah,
So
that's what we
maybe you
say
could
actually.
yes. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that would make a lot of sense because he was writing books against those who was criticizing Islam even prior to being the Mahdi. So maybe we could consider that action the breaking of the cross,
Yeah, and the
right?
the way you break cross is easy. You tell Christians that your God, which Isa alayhi salam is, has died,
Mm.
and he
No,
won't be coming back, even from their
wait,
scriptures, from Gospels. You say
no,
that he did not
he
die on the cross.
hasn't died. didn't die on the cross.
Sorry, he hasn't died on the cross.
Okay,
No, but
okay.
I'm
Then I
saying
have
from
a
the Muslim perspective. So when
wait, so
Muslims
you-
we
so
say,
so you believe, as the Sunni Muslims believe, that وما قتلوه وما صلبوه ولكن شبه لهم. They haven't killed Jesus, but it was appeared to them as if they did.
Well,
yes,
they haven't killed Jesus. They haven't crucified him,
Yeah.
but
So
it
you
was
believe
made
that.
to be. So, yep.
But then Jesus
The-
still continued his life and then died a normal death.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
That verse would also apply to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
wait, I want to look at the verse because
Because وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا سَلَبُوهُ. Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wasn't killed, nor was he crucified. Right?
I quoted in BC stuff. But basically, yeah, Dajjal is one of the manifestation is through Trinitarian Christians, and breaking of the cross also implies killing of Dajjal. That's one view of like who Dajjal is. And I think we have quotes of Salaf actually saying the same thing. Dajjal is nothing but Satan, or something. Let me
okay,
find it.
then what do you say about the second verse? Because the verse after that it says, "But God have risen, have basically taken Jesus up to him, or have risen Jesus."
Yeah, it says Allah exalted him to himself or raised him to himself.
Yeah, raised him to
Uh,
himself. So the Sunni
it's the
believe
same
is that
thing.
it
Yeah,
was literal.
no, it's not literal. Like whenever God raises people, it's never literal.
Okay.
God raises us like when we pray. When we go pray and we do good deeds, we go near to Allah Ta'ala. In the same sense that, Allah Ta'ala, we're getting raised in ranks.
Yeah, because
And
Allah Ta'ala is Arafi, right? I think he's the one who raises, that's what it means. But if we're
mhm.
saying that he raises up to the sky, and that's not wrong, that's wrong, right?
So that's our
So it's
view of that.
so that
So
would
it's a
be a
spiritual
figurative.
exaltation.
Yeah, it's a figurative meaning. That's a literal one.
It's consistent with other places actually in the Quran. Do you know the story of Balaam Beor in the Quran, which was the enemy of Musa alayhi salam? It says he wanted to be raised. We wanted to raise him, but he clung to the earth, and he uses the same exact wording over there in the sense that God was trying to raise him, meaning he's allowing him the chance to repent and accept Musa alayhi salam and be raised. But instead he clung to the earth, meaning like it's a
Yeah.
Oh,
figure of speech.
well,
So like
who's the guy that Moses was arguing with?
But it's called
Balaam.
his name is Balaam Beor. Let me quote that verses too. So we do it like consistently, like however Quran uses that word. We try to do the same way. I think it's in where is that verse? Rafa in Quran. Yeah, here.
نرفع درجات من نشاء.
It's 7:175, 177, 7:177, 7:177.
But Mujib, what if someone says, yeah, Mujib, that there is the word darajat, so there is an indication that it is not literal within the verse itself, and this one at least. But I
Yeah,
can, yeah,
this
but I
one
can
at
see
least.
the reasoning.
This
Yeah, but
if you read this verse 177.
wait. Oh, wait. Let me just see it here. I'm opening the link right now. Oops.
For that it should be 176 because we count Bismillah as an ayat.
Al-A'raf. That's verse what? 176.
176 for you.
Okay. واتلو عليهم نبأ الذي آتيناه آياتنا فانسلخ منها واتبع الشيطان كما غوى. Okay. Yeah, this is a good example. I appreciate the Arabic here. It certainly makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, so like this is one of the verses we use to prove, he hasn't been raised literally, and many like I think we have like 30 verses that we say that prove that Isa alayhi Islam has indeed died, and there's no like clear proof that he's alive in the heavens.
Yeah, I can certainly see the logic behind that. Yeah.
And then yeah, but
This is pretty cool.
also we have like a similar. I don't know if you know, we have like a similar shura system, just like at the time of the Khulafas, Sahaba, and the Khulafas, the first four. That the Khalifa had a shura body, or the Majlis e Mashawrat. I don't know what's the exact name that they used to call it back then.
Yeah, sure. I think you
That's
said
the
it
word, right?
correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, sure.
we have
Yeah.
the same kind of structure in that sense, because Khalifa has a shura. They help, he consults the body when they need to
But
make decisions, and then within each country there is a shura for the whole country. Members are get elected from the local. So suppose in USA, our headquarters is in Maryland.
but I have a question.
Head,
How
mm,
do Ahmadiyyas reconcile with the fact that they are not in possession of the holy cities? For example, wouldn't you think that God would grant rather than to grant the holy cities, for Mecca, Medina, to a false sect that is
mhm.
refusing the message of the Ghulam Ahmad? Why would God
Uh,
not grant the ownership of the two holy cities to Ahmadiyya rather than to a sect of Islam that
yeah,
is rejecting the message of Ghulam Ahmad?
I mean, it's not. I'm not sure what's the answer for it, but it's similar to how it was when Holy Prophet Sallam, he had to. Well, he was kicked out of basically Mecca, and he did not. He wanted to do Hajj, or sorry, Umrah, but they've refused to let him come, and then they had to do treaty for Dabia. So I think that happened at the time of Holy Prophet Sallam too. In our case, it's taking a bit longer to get the city
Mm.
back, but I think it's not a
Wait,
big deal.
you're gonna
Well,
attack us?
similar, huh?
no, no.
No, not
I'm
attacking us.
kidding.
Mean like
I'm
when
joking.
the
I know.
when
And then you're
people
gonna force
accept
us to have like Sulh
We
al-Hudaybiyah, like you guys, you have to do
Salah.
this and have to do.
No, you're
we
gonna
we
force us
do.
to do Salah Dabiya, then we're
We're
gonna
gonna
take
be
it
the
back.
new. We're going to be the new
No,
Quraysh
just
now.
kidding. Astaghfirullah. That's claiming that
Stop.
you're Meccans, which is
Stop.
bad.
We do jihad of the pen and not of the sword.
Except for you, not, and everyone is agreeing. Good. Well, be careful there. I just noticed that he's an administrator. I don't want him to start kicking all of us now, just to
Oh,
prove
No,
that
no.
he's very peaceful.
let me kick Neo from the VC.
Mm.
1 second. Can I kick you? Oh, I can.
Oh, we're gonna start a war now.
I thought I can't kick admins, but I can.
Are there any debates that took place between like an Ahmadiyya, for example, Sheikh, and let's say regular Sunni Sheikh, for example? Are there any debates?
We had a debate in this, not in this server, but in another server with the Sheikh. He was a UK from UK. And we published it on YouTube. Let me find it. We tried having debates with a few people, but it doesn't turn out good. Like it's really no one agrees to debate us on the core topics. It's just like they want to bring up anti-Ahmadi stuff from the websites and just spam it. That's normally how it goes.
Like, for example, I'm not sure if Shias and Sunnah. Yeah, I think yeah, there were like Shia and Sunnah debates sometimes on TV. And I'm assuming there must have been at least few between Ahmadiyya and other sects, like official ones. Young
Oh,
Ahmadi
like
Muslim
official
versus
debates.
Shia.
Official debates. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad himself, he did munazare. And what do you call mubahilas? He himself did it a lot.
Wait, when you said munazara, do you mean it as an Arabic word or as a
Munazara, like the Arabic word, like the debate.
what languages do you speak beside English?
Urdu. It's
Uh,
similar to munazara is like an Urdu word also.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
So is it also what did Ghulam Ahmad speak? Did he speak Urdu as well?
Yeah, I think he's probably because he was born in Punjab, so I think his mother tongue might be Punjabi. But he wrote books in Urdu, Arabic, and Farsi. And yeah, and you know
Nice as
the
well.
thing about Mahdi that you were saying, in one night God will um,
Yeah,
do
like
that. This happened to him, and actually, like he wrote about it. So he claimed that in one night God taught him Arabic. Like I think I forgot the exact number. I think Obama 40,000 root
40,000 lughat.
lugat of Arabic in one night. So
you mean for 40,000 accent dialects or like different
lugat.
Lughat.
languages entirely?
Lughat.
So
So
completely
lugat
different
is,
tongues, like
yeah,
Latin, English,
no.
Greek.
Arabic lugats.
Oh, so Arabic
Yeah,
dialects
yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
Like idioms
it's the
Mm.
Arabic
and stuff.
prophecy. Let me find it for you. I think it's an Arabic revelation, right? That he got. Let me find it. Oh yeah, it's here. Because I don't understand Arabic, so you can read it. This is what he wrote in his one
Oh,
of this book
Ahmadi
in
Fiqh
Arabic.
Arabic. Yeah, that's Arabic, that's for sure. That's formal Arabic and pretty good one too.
I
He
mean,
also
for a
wrote like
man.
Qaseedah.
Oh yeah, Qaseedah
Oh,
dope.
really? Arabic
Yeah,
Qaseedah? I would love to
Yeah,
read
Arabic.
that.
play it. I love that Qaseedah.
How do you play it? You play it, and then I'll put the video with the book here, the text.
TK. Oh, I love that. Wait one second. So it's an Arabic Qaseedah. I'll play the one that is
Mm.
in Arabic and then Urdu and then English.
This
And
is
it's
the
very good
Arabic.
tune.
This PDF has it.
Here, I'll play it right now.
Ya Rabbi salli ala nabiyyika daiman fi hazihi dunya wa basin sani Wallahi inna Muhammadan karidafatin وبه الوصول بسدة السلطان हाँ मोहम्मद ही का रुतबा है बुलंद बादस खुदा आपके जरिए से ही होता है वस्ले किबरिया
By God, the Holy Prophet Muhammad is certainly like the Prime Minister in his spiritual relation to Almighty God. And it is through him alone that there can be access for anyone to the threshold of the King. Almighty God.
هو فخر كل مطهر ومقدس وبه يباهي العسكر الروحاني आपकी हस्ती पे नाज़ा हर मुक़द्दस पाक बाज लश्करे रूहानियाँ भी आप पे करता है नाज या रब
He is the pride of every purified and holy person. And the spiritual troops of Allah also cherish him and take pride in him.
وجه المهيمن ظاهر في وجهه وشؤونه لمعت بهذا الشان तेरे चेहरे में नजर आता है नूरे किरदगार तेरे सब औसाफ में हुस्ने अज़ल है आशिकार या
The presence of Allah, the Protector, is reflected in the blessed face of the Holy Prophet. And his entire manner and moral conduct sparkles with the same characteristic magnificence.
لا شك أن محمدا خير الورى.
Okay. I was gonna let it play till the end, but all right, ZVS.
Bro, it's long.
Yes, good.
Yeah, I was listening as well as reading through the PDF that you've sent me. But it's beautiful. That's undeniable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they certainly have chosen the best people to recite it. Even the Arabic, like the one who's doing it, he must be an Arabian. Or if he's not, then I gotta give him credit.
I think he is probably. I think
Here,
so.
let me search it up. The one who doesn't the English translation, he's from my Jamaat. I mean, he's from the Chicago Jamaat.
Is he from Chicago?
Yeah, and he's African American convert.
What's his name?
Al-Hajj or something. Hold on.
I see.
He did something on MTA in like whenever Hazur came to our Jamaat.
Oh, he would do the. Oh, okay. The voiceovers.
He would like stand in the camera and be like, "This is Ahmadiyya Jamaat Chicago, which started in this."
Okay. Oh, okay.
I saw the video, but I can't find it right now. But yeah, here, let me see. 2000. Okay, yeah.
On the 20th. Assalamu alaikum. I am Haji Jalaluddin Abdul.
Yeah, Haji Jalaluddin Abdul Latif.
Do you have his picture? Is he Arab?
No. He's not. No, that's one who does English.
Oh, I was like, which Arab has this name?
Here, it should here. Qaseedah, MTA. It should say in the description who does it. No? Alright.
What do you think about the, like I think I've heard that they're jailing people as scholars in Saudi.
Oh yeah, I've certainly had many, I guess, people worried or concerned as to, well, because it's a new thing, and a lot of these scholars, or at least some of them, were very popular before they got prison. I guess I'm a little bit concerned because I don't know what's the end goal of this gonna be. Is it gonna be just anyone who speaks of? I don't know, because some of these scholars haven't really spoken against, let's say, the policies necessarily. They seem to have been kind of neutral on this. Yeah. Yeah, it's a cause of concern. That's certainly the case. Because it would seem to be the case that the current vision is to open the country and modernize it, so it basically come across as welcoming, tolerant, safe for foreign investors, and as well as tourists. And they want to crack down on any, I guess, anyone or any voice that would basically threat this new policy of opening the country up more and more. Because Saudi Arabia has been for the longest part a conservative country for a good reason, because it's the place of the holy mosque and the two holy cities, and for these reasons and many others, it's been largely conservative by not, for example, allowing the current
It's
things that is. Yeah, go
it's
ahead.
better. It's better to not make it another UAE, like as haram as UAE, you know.
Actually, yeah, a lot of people have made that analogy, which is that Saudi Arabia is trying to be another Dubai.
Which it
But
shouldn't. Like Islam, that's just stupid to make it another UAE.
yeah, I can see why that would be a good analogy, because it would seem to be the case that we're trying to walk on their path and their own. But I don't think that Saudi Arabia can do that, because again, the United Emirates is a lot more smaller. They're largely on the coast. Most of Saudi Arabia is not on the coast, and it's largely it's a very large country, and also it's the holy birth of Islam, and a lot of its citizens are still largely conservative and tribal. I guess they have succeeded in opening up, like for example, the cinemas and some small events and like the Comic Cons and whatnot. So there are certain events that start to take place here and there, but um, I
Are
don't
you like
think.
more liberal or conservative?
Well, I guess I want to see the country being modernized in the sense that everyone has a voice, but I didn't expect that this will be used against the scholars where they would be jailed. Like that was I certainly didn't see that coming. I thought as people become more and more free, the scholars would guide them and help them navigate through the landscape of choices and challenges. But now, without these scholars around to help the young people navigate, then this might lead them astray.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there was the cracking down on Al Hay'a, or the religious police. Religious police was also a huge part in Saudi Arabia, because they will, drive around and they would basically encourage the store owners and to basically close the stores by the Salah time so that people could focus on Salah. And since the authority of religious police have been reduced tremendously to the point where they actually don't have almost little to no authority at this point. And I think there was a new policy that was passed recently now that you don't have to close now. In fact, at some places you should not close, even if it's Salah. If people want to pray, then you just have to make it so that half of the working people pray, the other half will cover them, and then switch. Basically, it's becoming more and more liberalized,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe secularized is the. I mean, a lot of people have made the argument that Saudi Arabia has been always a secular country. It's just because a lot of the citizens are Muslims, may not be apparent, but the country itself and its leadership is secular. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but I can see why that argument is compelling. But who
There are
knows?
many Saudi.
Maybe. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that maybe out of this cracking down on the religious extremism, maybe it will allow Ahmadis to, be treated like everyone else, because it's mostly due to the traditional scholars that Ahmadis were being viewed maybe in a negative light. So maybe a good thing would come out of this in favor of Ahmadis, for example. I don't know.
I don't know about that, because same thing happened in Pakistan, and actually Zelius was telling us that the newer generation's even harder on Ahmadis or something like that.
So if you guys, some of you seem to have been raised in different countries like the UK or in the United States, what do you feel like you're lacking a larger community to which you can feel like you belong to? Because, for example, I was raised in a country where almost everybody is a Muslim, and so wherever I go, everyone around you is a Muslim, and we all can hear the mosque. You can't go even 3 kilometers down the road, and there is another mosque. And so there's a sense of community wherever you go. But I would
I mean,
suspect it's not the case for
Ahmadis, so like we're very community based in Ahmadis, so like Ahmadis have like communities that they feel belong to and like around the local area. So you could also like definitely feel like a sense of belonging with Ahmadiyya
Mm,
in their communities and stuff. But overall in general, I guess not. Like I'm speaking here in America, but like
mm.
I guess
Like, for
maybe
example,
not,
where
but
you live, is there like a mosque where Ahmadiyyas are praying?
yeah.
Or is it a mosque only for Ahmadiyyas, or is it just a Muslim mosque?
Only well, it's all made by Ahmadis for Ahmadis, but it's not like we don't
Mm,
like it's open to anyone, you know.
mm. And what about the way Ahmadiyyas pray?
Hanafi.
Is there any
We
noticeable
prayed
difference?
like Hanafis. We pray
And,
like Hanafis. Yeah.
and how do Hanafis pray?
Um,
No Rafa then. Everything else is the same.
So wait, so Yadayn, you mean the two hands are on the
Yeah.
side?
No. Rafa then means like after every action you do like Allahu Akbar. Like you hold your hands to the ears and do Allahu
Oh,
Akbar. So we don't do that.
okay.
We just do. Yeah. Everything else is the same as you would do.
Oh, okay. So the reason for not raising the hands is it because the Hanafis believe that the Prophet did not do that?
Yeah. There's a difference of opinion. You can do it, but we don't do it. Even if someone does, Ahmadi does it, so it's fine. Or anyone does
You
it.
know, it's interesting that you mentioned this because I remember reading, excuse me, not reading, but listening to someone, and they were basically quoting a saying that at the time of the Umayyad ruling, Ali, I think the companion Ali, he was praying, and some of the Umayyad leaders were praying behind him, and they were surprised that Ali was doing takbir as he was praying, and so as when they basically came out of the mosque, they said he basically prayed the Hashimi way.
I mean, I guess like for us Ahmadis, it's really easy. Like we don't have to like compare hadiths and stuff because we have the Masih that has come, and the Masih will be the Hakam and Adl, right?
Oh,
He'll
okay, that
differentiate
makes
what's
sense.
wrong and right. So like we follow what he does because he's that status. We don't have to go and argue about fiqhs and stuff internally, but maybe externally, yeah. But so for us,
Yeah,
it's easy like that way.
yeah, and I think also you've told me that he also was Hanafi in the matter.
Like no. He like follows the same methodology as Imam Abu Hanifa. So it's like it was very similar, but it's like he didn't call himself outright Hanafi.
Okay, so what you say, it just there is a commonality between them, but it doesn't mean
Yeah,
that.
the closest would be Hanafi.
Mm. Well, this been really educational and informative. I thank everyone here for tuning in and answering my questions and enlightening me about Ahmadiyya. I certainly came out of this knowing more than I did.
No, bro,
And all the
thank you
best.
for coming. Like, you made Obama so comfortable, like he's even showering while talking to you.
Yeah, Tofani, that was I was making chai, dude.
You're not showering?
Yeah. Shout.
Nahi.
What is that?
I thought he
Shower,
was taking a shower.
like ghusl.
Taking a bath, like a bath.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay. Yeah, I
yeah.
got it. Well, I mean, yeah, and
No, bro,
thanks to you
like thank
guys.
you for
Like,
coming. Like, you
it,
came.
it almost felt like we've been talking for weeks now. It almost felt like we're friends for a long time. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this is it feels warm in here.
Nice.
So yeah, for that I thank you guys.
It must be late there, bro. Isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is actually now 1 after midnight. But it's
Damn.
fine. I mean, I'll probably sleep at 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
I mean, partly because I don't have anything to do tomorrow anyway, so I'm kind of enjoying myself at this point.
Oh, tomorrow's holiday for me too, So happy.
Thanksgiving.
Obama, I'm taking a break from like Thursday to like December. I took off from work.
Oh, nice. I think I'm gonna just go to someone's house, eat turkey or whatever.
Turkey.
Enjoy. Gee.
Nice.
I don't like turkey.
Turkey's so dry, bro. Super dry.
Yeah. मुझे नहीं अच्छा लगता है.
But with gravy, it's good. Like gravy, mashed potatoes and gravy. So nice.
I'd rather eat something else. Honestly,
I mean, you eat turkey and gravy once a year, bro. Like, just eat it.
No, but I eat turkey sandwiches, like the turkey slices.
Those
Is there
Yeah.
a traditional Ahmadi food?
No,
No,
but like,
such thing.
like we have like we call it a langar. Langar is like a kitchen. I think you call it a kitchen. So what we do is similar to how Sikhs do it actually. You can go to the Gurdwara and then eat for free at any time. So we have similar like kitchens around in the mosques. In the places where we have big mosques, basically big community. So we do have like free food. Anyone can go and eat.
So is it like in Ramadan or like
Any time of the year?
For Ramadan, what our mosque does is that there's families. There's a couple of families, they sign up to make iftar. Bro, it's
Same.
so good.
In Ramadan, yes, but like overall, like it's like the whole year. There's like food at the mosque, so anyone can go who visits or can go and eat.
So you come to the mosque at like Asr time, and then you listen to the dars. Then you break your fast, and then you go pray Maghrib, and then you eat dinner, and then you pray Isha and Tarawih.
Tarawih, yeah.
Then you go home, and then every day during Ramadan, you just repeat. It's so nice.
Bro, Tarawih is so long, man.
BMO thinks that this only happens on Friday and during Ramadan rather than every
So
day.
different Jamaats have different things. It depends on the size. So like different masjids have different plans.
Depends upon like how big the community is at the area. So like if you go to the headquarter areas like London Mosque, where the headquarter is, they have like food all year long at every time. If you go to like Qadian, the city where he was born, food all year long. Go to Rabwa in Pakistan. It was our headquarter before UK. Food all year long, and even like we have a guest house to stay there for free for people who are just traveling.
I mean, if you ever go anywhere, you could search up your local Ahmadi mosque, except for like Pakistan or whatever, because you can't really do that. They'd probably be happy to host you or whatever. and give
Well,
you
speaking
food and
speaking of mosque, you did tell me that there is like a mosque near you which Ahmadis have made,
hmm
but basically anyone is
yeah.
welcome. Can Ahmadi pray behind other Muslims?
No.
It's similar
So,
to how, like, different people of different sects don't pray around
mm,
each other. Similar, uh, yeah, similar reasoning. And also
and
because,
mm,
like, why pray behind like an imam who rejects the imam of the Allah Ta'ala, the Masih. So that's
mm.
one reason, but most other reason is like just like how other people don't do it.
Yeah, probably the same
Yeah,
reason.
something.
Same
Yeah,
with why Shias and Sunnis don't pray behind each other. Though
yeah, and
Even
probably
Sunnis
Sunnis
within
with
Sunnis.
Sunnis.
I mean, of course, ignoring the, I guess, exceptional cases where some people do that, thinking it's okay. Because yeah, some people would probably just pray regardless, and they wouldn't really
hmm
put any too much thinking in it. But certainly, if you think about it seriously, then if someone is rejecting the core tenets of your belief, then it wouldn't make sense for them to pray behind you because that's kind of an affirmation of your belief.
hmm
Yeah, that's so cool. Like how Shia don't pray behind Sunnis. Yeah, BMO. Yeah, almost the same thing.
I mean, Sunnis could pray behind us. I've actually seen like a lot of Sunnis come to our masjid because it's like really big or whatever,
Mm.
and they pray behind us because they
Ju-
see that we pray like Hanafis or whatever. Uh, yeah.
just don't tell them that this is an Ahmadi mosque.
No. We tell them
Uh,
in our entrances it says La ilaha illallah Muhammadur
uh,
Rasulullah, and then it says Ahmadiyya Muslim community of like let's say Chicago or
what
New York or whatever.
those traitors? The traitors to the cause.
Let me show
Kidding.
you a picture. I was in DC this weekend.
Mm.
Do I have the picture? No, I didn't take a picture. Let me see if I have the Houston. Not Dallas, sorry. This is the Dallas Mosque, like the front, and then the main hall is
Beit
this is the
al Beitul Ikram. I think that's Ikram,
It's
which
in.
means the house of generosity. I think that's what
Mhm.
it means.
that's Arabic. Um, and then that's the mosque. It's pretty nice from inside. Looks like Batul Fatu
Oh,
from inside.
is this the new one that they built?
Yeah, the new one. Super
Oh,
nice,
that's
bro.
so
Like,
nice. I think our mosque is like planning a renovation because like it's like really old.
and Imam Saab, like he lives right next to the mosque, in the same property as the mosque, right? And his house is like
Oh my
there.
God.
Let me show you. Looks
Oh
super
yeah.
nice.
The largest mosque in Western Europe is Ahmadi. Yep, it's true.
I'm
Oh yeah,
finding
Huzur,
our headquarters,
Tilford, Bethel,
Bet Rahman.
I'm assuming the headquarters is
oh,
where the Caliph is.
The
oh,
headquarters in USA. So like, there's a global headquarters, and then there's a headquarter in every country.
Oh. And is there like well, obviously there has to be what you might call uh Ahmadi like books, or maybe not books but like educational, um how do I put it, educational content that Ahmadis produce for
Yeah.
Ahmadis themselves. For example, let's say you're a father, you have children, and you would like them, to be raised understanding the Ahmadi doctrine. And so obviously you guys have your own
so like,
educational content that you communicate to your
I mean,
families, to the community.
yeah, basically the Ahmadi, like, yeah, there's like Ahmadi aspects, but most of it is just like memorizing Quran and learning Hadith and like
Mm.
doing du'as and stuff like that. And then there's the Ahmadi stuff. So yeah, we do
We have
have like books like that. It's like Tahir Academy in the USA. Each country has something different. So
we have like
Oh,
Sunday school kind of for
when
kids.
At which point do Ahmadis, let's say, maybe you yourself, at which point were you taught the clear difference between Ahmadis and other sects of Islam?
Probably like no. So we learn about Ahmadis, like what Ahmadiyyat is at like age 7-ish.
Mm,
But like the differences, I think it comes later on.
mm.
No, for me it
Uh,
was earlier because I was in Pakistan, right? So for me to live there, you
Oh
have
yeah,
to be
because you
careful
have
and
to.
not to just like, because the way we live there is different than we live, outside.
Yeah.
So you have to keep it a bit incognito. Don't tell other people that you're Ahmadi just for. And since there's mosque nearby, like in your neighborhood, you don't go there, but other people are going there. So you need to know that why don't you go
Yeah,
there? And because if you go there, they find out that you're an Ahmadi, you're done, basically, right? Because you're coming and uh, so stuff like that.
yeah. It
Interesting.
depends on each country, I guess, for safety reasons or whatever.
But I think it's
And
good
then,
to tell like people like what kids like earlier, who Ahmadis, what's the difference between like basically, just the basic
Yeah,
difference, because
I mean, like,
otherwise it gets confusing for them.
as a kid, I knew like the differences like very early on because like I knew what Lahoris were whenever I was like 8. That was kind of funny. And
if someone, let's say, among the family were to, I guess, leave the sect of Ahmadis to any other sect, whether it's Shia or the Sunnis or whatever, uh, would that basically get a very negative reaction from the family and closed one? I'm assuming that I'm assuming they would get similar that reaction, but
Obviously, my mom will kill me if I become a non-Ahmadi.
I mean, for me, my family wouldn't because my family was like my mom and my dad were always like, don't follow Ahmadiyya just because you're Ahmadi, or don't follow it blindly. Just figure out why you do. And so they wouldn't have like persecute me, but they probably would be like, yo, this is not
yeah, I
right.
mean, yeah, I wouldn't think like anyone would be persecuted or killed by their parents unless the parents are freaking, crazy. But maybe being disowned by the family, maybe the family would probably go as far as to
No.
say, mm,
My parents always like kind of told me that I'm their son no matter what, even though if I'm like atheist or whatever, or if I even get into jail. So like I don't think my family, it's very like family like based on each specific family,
being
right?
is saying that, but in Sunnism there is apostasy. But I assume that apostasy also is in, Ahmadism because you guys use the same sources as we do.
Well, same sources but different interpretations, remember?
Wait, but isn't
So
the
there is
hadith
no.
literal? The hadith says whoever changes his religion, you know, kill him. So wouldn't you take
That
a literal meaning of that?
No, it's against Quran, Sunnah, Quran and Sunnah. That hadith goes against Quran and Sunnah if you take it
How
literally.
so?
Because Moses Salam never killed any apostate ever, and Quran, whenever it talks about apostasy, it
How so?
never
No,
talks.
actually. Okay, I'll give you an example. The story of someone called Abdullah bin Abi Sarh. Basically, he was one of the writers of the Revelation, as was the Prophet receiving
He
Revelation.
did treason. He
Mhm.
joined the enemy ranks. So he did apostasy plus treason, and when you do treason, treason is punishable by death, not just apostasy.
Okay, but what do you make of the hadith? Are you saying that because the hadith just goes against the Quran, I'm just gonna reject it regardless
It
of?
probably refers to treason in the time of war. So, for example, in Treaty of Hudaybiyah, many people apostated after that. Many Muslims, right? Moses actually signed the agreement that whoever apostates from among will not be sent back to Mecca, Medina. And if
Okay,
apostasy
what
punishment was,
about what about then? Okay, that's fair. What about Abu Bakr's decision to kill those who left Islam? They weren't fighting him. They just said, you know
they
what,
were,
we're not.
they were. Musaylama attacked Medina.
No, no, not Musaylima. I heard about the wars of those who were basically they just basically said we're not
The
gonna pay
Ridda
zakah.
Wars?
They were
The
We're not
rebelling.
Ridda
gonna pay.
Wars.
Many of them were rebelling,
Yeah.
or they were refusing to pay zakat and the So that way
No, so
they claim
like
to be.
it's not that they just didn't want to pay zakat, right? They didn't want to be controlled, right? So then they went and took their armies and went to Medina. That's why you could fight back against them.
So basically, within the context of Ahmadiyya, there is no such thing as killing someone just because they apostated.
Yeah, because it's not found in the Quran or Sunnah. Or, yeah.
And the
Then
Hadith, and basically the Hadith is completely rejected.
No.
No.
It's
So
from
we have
Bukhari.
to.
We can't reject it.
So we have to
So,
like do interpretation so that it is in line with the Quran
mm,
and Sunnah. Because you know how
okay.
Quran is the thing on top, like it's your guide measure. It's like the top,
So
thing
it's
you have
like what
to
Mujib
abide by.
says. Basically, you try to basically contextualize the Hadith and say, well, yeah, it says kill those who change their religion, but it's not just that. There are other factors that come to play that make that justifiable.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be another, I guess, significant difference between Sunnism, I guess, or Salafism and Ahmadiyya.
We also don't believe in abrogation, nasakh and mansukh.
Oh, okay, now, okay, wait a minute. So, because the Quran does state abrogation, like clearly.
About abrogating previous scriptures, not abrogating one verse in the Quran with another verse in the Quran, not that.
Okay, because the verse, I think it says, وَمَا نَنْسَخْ مِنْ آيَةٍ أَوْ نُنْسِهَا نَأْتِ
Yes.
بِخَيْرٍ مِنْهَا. So, you
The
would
context is
say,
behind the previous, like Torah, Quran abrogating Torah or previous scriptures, because the context before the verses before talks about that.
Interesting. Because
Yeah.
I guess the casual, or let's say the common interpretation within the Sunni sect is that it's talking about verses within the Quran. So
Yeah,
okay, so
we don't.
what about the hadiths, which I think maybe they are even in Bukhari, that
Yes.
talks about verses within the Quran?
So there
That
are hadiths which talk about abrogation. I don't know the meanings of each one of them like on top of my head, but it's a bit like tafsiri detail. That's in like if you read the tafsir by our second Khalifa, I think this who is a scholar, he's explained those things. So I'm not sure those exact, because there's a difference in abrogation. You know, the way you can use that word also. So something like along that line, but I don't know the answer on
so
top of my head for each of these.
okay. What about the hadith about the what about stoning, for example? Do you guys believe that stoning was part?
Stoning is a punishment in Sharia, but not for adultery or fornication. For adultery and fornication, it's 100 lashes or whatever Quran says, I think 100. But
So
stoning,
isn't there like a hadith in Bukhari, I think, where Umar says that
yeah, we used to
we
stone. We found verses in the
yeah.
Quran telling us to stone. And we say it was his like judgment mistake, because there are ahadiths during the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Hazrat Umar goes to Muhammad ﷺ and he asks him, okay, give me the verses of stoning in from the Quran. And Muhammad ﷺ ignores him. And he asks again, and he ignores him again. Then he asks again, and then he ignores him again. So it proves like, he thought there were, but it was his mistake.
Mm.
But like, yeah, we don't believe like it's a punishment because of another reason is that, in Quran it says, marry the adulterers to another adulterer. I think it's the next verse after the punishment
Yeah,
with the
but the
lashes is mentioned.
understanding was that these people have committed
Unmarried.
adultery while unmarried. Yes, but if
Yeah,
it's married,
yeah.
then
But then there's another one on top of it. So it also says that the punishment for slaves or the slaves is halved. There's no way to have stoning. You can have lashes, you cannot have stoning. So
make him half dead and then let him go. Yeah.
poor guys. So these two things, like, yeah. But in general,
Yeah,
like
well,
we believe that Quran, each verse stands there for like all times. Because another problem with abrogation comes down to like you can say there are 5 verses that's abrogated. I can say there's 10. Someone can say 500. There's like no stopping back.
Yeah. What
You
about the
can
hadith that says that there were 200 verses that were lost in Surah Al-Ahzab?
no, I don't think so. Any Muslim believes that to be true, right? And
Actually,
there's
Sunni Muslims believe that.
not all. I'm pretty sure the majority would say that this is actually like blaspheming Allah Ta'ala, I think.
That's actually the
Uh,
scholars saying that. Like maybe ordinary Muslims who haven't read much into the Sunni theology, they didn't understand this, but within the confines of the scholars, they understand this to be true.
I think many scholars like within the Sunni Islam also like disagree with this.
No, they would tell you that the Quran has been preserved. But if you tell them, well, what about this hadith that says 200 verses were lost in Ahzab? They would tell you, no, these verses were abrogated. Like that's how they would interpret the loss of
See,
these verses.
there's an Ahmadi Imam who wrote an article on this. I'm not sure if Zivis knows the answers on the top of their head, neither do I, but I can give you the article if you want it.
So there's people that think there are verses missing.
Oh my God, it's Hi God Loves You Anytime. Are you Christian? Right?
I'm trying to find the
Yes.
hadith that says that.
No,
200
there are
verses.
hadiths. There's hadith that says goat ate those verses too.
Oh
remember?
yeah, the ones that David Wood uses. Yeah, those.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
So
Right.
so those one I think like many reject also they explain it like a lot of Sunnis also. But I haven't
So it's
personally like researched into it, so I can't say anything.
okay. So this is now interesting because I'm starting to realize that there are more and more minor differences, and if you accumulate all of these differences
What
together,
about
then yeah.
There are
Yeah, just like
because like if you see within the Sunni like different school of fiqh, there's big differences, especially like within the Aqidah, like Athari, Asharis, and Maturidi. Like that's big huge differences. Then you can see like some Sunnis do istighatha, like majority, many of them actually do istighatha, and then some don't, and then call. It's like pretty like sh- I don't
Shirk?
want to. Yeah, shirk. Yeah, that's pretty much shirk, right?
No,
So there's
istighatha to whom?
like the dead.
You mean Sunnis do that?
Like the Sufis and many of the Sunnis also.
Well, yeah, Sufis, I think even hardcore Salafis would say that that's shirk. I think they would agree
Yes,
with you there.
obviously Salafis say that, but there's majority of Sunnis like Hanafis who do it, especially like in subcontinent.
No,
Hanafis
if they do it, they would be considered, I guess committing shirk.
but like they prove it, bro. Literally, it's majority. Like the majority of the Muslims and live in subcontinent.
what
Pakistan,
Subcontinent,
about
India,
in Africa,
Pakistan,
what do you
India,
mean?
what
Pakistan,
about the
India.
verse
Bro, one second,
there's a
Jesus,
verse
Jesus, bro.
that says Jesus was raised to Allah or exalted.
4159. You can quote it in the VC stuff. Read it. So basically, like majority of the Muslim population is in subcontinent, which is Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and those people, majority of them, like 80% or 90% in Pakistan, believe in istighatha to
Really?
the
This
dead.
is new to me.
Yes,
So basically all of these
even in
80,
Turkey.
90%, even to, so they're Sunnis, but they believe in like calling the dead.
They're Hanafis, yeah. There's many Sunnis who believe that, and you can read articles online. They prove like how doing this thing, like praying to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, like asking him or the other, what do you call, the dead saints. This is not Sunnis, Sufis, just Sufis. They're like Hanafis that I'm talking about. Hanafi Maturidis, and they prove it actually, and they
He was
have like
asking
debates
me,
within each other. With like the Ahle Hadith is like the Pakistan subcontinent version of Salafism. They actually debate each other a lot, and
Well,
they
if
have to
that,
feed each other on this issue. It's pretty
it would
serious.
seem that, it would seem like 80% of Muslims at this point are just kafirs. Goodness gracious. So,
Oh yeah, only Salafis are actually like the ones that follow Tawheed in that sense, that they don't call on to like these kind of issues, don't do these kind of issues. But again, like if you're extreme Salafi, like the way some do, I don't know. I don't want to generalize you because you're also like, I think probably like identify closely with it, but like the Akida of Atharism, like if you take it to extreme, you're basically doing tajseem kind of, and that's comes under like shirk, like really goes close to shirk or something. So
well, I mean, Tajsim is only we only attribute to God what God have attributed to Himself.
yeah,
I
like
mean,
I mean, I'm saying like if you take it to like extreme cases, yeah.
yeah, I would certainly agree if you were to go.
Estoy typing.
But I mean, if
Aquí.
God, I guess it only has to do with what God have attributed to Himself. Like
Es
if
que
God
no
says He
mucha.
has a hand and face.
Casi
Yep.
respondiendo el voice porque están orando muchos.
Bro,
But
we can hear your something from background, bro. Jesus is our Lord. Yeah, thank you.
what's the Barlavi and Diubandi? Mujib was asking me about two groups of people.
Yeah,
Barlavi.
those ones, the ones I was talking about, they are the Hanafis who do that.
Oh, yeah, I'm not
And
familiar
they're
with these ones, Mujib. It's the first time I hear about them.
basically they're like big groups. I think Barelvis are like 200-300 million across the world.
Really?
Deobandis
Goodness.
are like probably like 80 million as per Google and stuff.
It's the
All of
other way
them,
around.
commit shirk
They do these kind of things, yeah.
to the
Like
hellfire.
you go to Pakistan, India, like you'll see the what do you call the shrines filled with people doing this stuff like Shias do basically in their shrines and Sufis.
Like dancing and doing
Mm,
all types of bid'ah.
mm.
It's a big
So
problem
yeah,
there.
maybe that's why they don't like us.
Like in Saudi, if you go to graveyards, they have signs outside that don't pray to the dead or something, right? In those graveyards. Because someone showed me, she went to India, Saudi, and then she showed me the pictures of the sign saying, okay, don't pray to the dead or the way or don't do sajda or something, because people would come and do it on the graves.
BMO, are you Salafi? Well, I think you probably could say that. I mean, I don't know what would be the difference between a Salafi and, let's say, a Sunni Hanbali. I think I'm a Hanbali, but I think that has to do more with the fiqh rather than the aqidah. Yeah, but where I'm from, in Saudi Arabia, we're mostly influenced by also Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab's message of monotheism, and it was very strict monotheism. And so he was very strict on shirk and calling the dead and all that. And Salafis for sure have that as well. So I think that would be the case for me. That I'm leaning more toward that. What do you think of the USA having military bases in Saudi Arabia? I mean, I guess it's uh, for practical reasons. I mean, it doesn't mean if you mean having allies with Western or non-Muslim powers, then I don't see how that would be an issue, even from an Ahmadi perspective, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, the Prophet had. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, because we know that the Prophet had, allies with the Jewish tribes in Medina when he arrived there, and so he had like an agreement with them that he would protect them and they would protect him. So there was an alignment. Yeah, I think it's fine, Doctor Handsome, as long as just to protect the country and for practical reasons, as long as it's not in affirmation of the beliefs of these foreign powers, but rather only for practical reasons and for the benefits of the people in the country. Are you willing to change your beliefs if we can't prove it from the Holy Quran? I mean, I would like to be brave enough to say I will change my beliefs, but given that I know my limitations and my flaws, I'm not too sure that my ego wouldn't stand in the way of doing that. But I can only hope for the best. That whatever truth is, hopefully that God will lead me to it, regardless of what it
I
is.
mean, don't just hope. I guess you gotta pray, right?
Oh yeah, obviously. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ what the verse it says, basically God wouldn't change people unless they change themselves. So yeah,
Mhm.
definitely that's gonna have an effort with it.
Mhm.
But certainly this is something, because this is new to me. It's
Have
gonna
you
be
read any?
something.
Have you read any books of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad?
No, nothing. Like literally, this is the
Uh,
first time I get I guess, an unbiased representation of what
okay,
Ahmadiyya is. Yeah,
I
and
will give you.
I preferred hearing it from the people themselves rather than reading it online. Partly because I wanted to engage with people. I didn't just want to read alone, because if I read alone, I'm just gonna get bored and I'm just gonna stop reading. Like, because mostly I would tell myself, why would I bother? After a certain point, I'm just gonna stop. But if I'm listening to someone and I can hear that they have a passion and a motivation behind it, and they're being sincere about what they're talking about, I think it's much more real. It's much more. Uh, I guess I can connect with it more.
Uh,
I can relate to it.
I think.
Yeah.
I guess not only that, but it should also try to benefit you and like improve yourself.
Yeah, and also you can, instead of reading something that might end up being, a biased report on the belief, because I'm not even sure if I could trust Wikipedia on this matter, because you never know if the people who
Mm,
edit it are not biased even in their representation of it. But yeah, I mean, the main point was because, I mean, after all, I've been locked down also since Corona started, and I would take any opportunity at this point just to talk to people.
mhm. I mean, I think you should still read. Like, I guess this is a good point, a good book to start with, Philosophy of Teachings of Islam.
Well,
It's really
definitely,
interesting.
I wouldn't make the claim that talking to people is only is gonna be good enough. Like,
Mhm.
uh, I, but I just wanted the first impression to be, I guess, the best part of it.
The realist.
Yeah. After all, the Prophet, at the end of the day, he had to talk
Sallallahu
to
Alaihi
people.
Wasallam.
Yeah, he had to talk to people first before he left them to do their own, working and searching and study.
Mm, yep.
But yeah, again, I would like to thank everyone that have been very patient with me and answering every question that I asked. And also people in the chat, I didn't get to comment and everything, but I was reading as much as I could. I wish I had more, uh, I
Right,
was
so
much more
much to say.
attentive, I guess. I wish I was more attentive to everything. But yeah, thank you guys. I guess this is where I probably will stop, and
TK.
hopefully we'll talk some other time. But yeah, thank you for the hospitality so far.
Alright, alright. Thank you. You're
No problem,
welcome.
bro. Thank you for
Khadafis.
coming and asking questions and
Yeah, much love.
Yeah.
all right, bro. Assalamu alaikum. Good night.
Alaikum salam. Good night.
Shaba khair. All right. Jesus is our Lord and Savior. What do you want to say now? Oh, critical is also. Is he critical? Is Christian also?
So,
Wait, is he? Oh, yeah. Sup. Sup. God loves you anytime. How are you doing? ठीक है